So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports, man. We got some big news and updates on our Baltimore Ravens. Marlon Humphrey and Darius Washington make it very clear how they feel with a statement. After this big win against the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football, the Ravens moved to 7-3. We got our top takeaways from this game, plus and some information on the Baltimore Ravens really attempting to make some trades on some key players that just did not pan out. Let's go ahead and dive into the content. At number one, let's talk about that report real quick. So the Baltimore Ravens reportedly offered a third-round pick for Marshon Lattimore to help bolster this defense. And ultimately, the Commanders offered a third, I think it was a fourth and a fifth or something like that as well. Way more than the Baltimore Ravens were willing to give up. They also attempted to trade for Calais Campbell, but could not get the deal done before the trade deadline. The Ravens were obviously trying to boost this pass defense. And at number two, let's talk about what Marlon Humphrey had to say on this pass defense.
Practice is route concept. The game, you don't do it how you practice. So it's becoming more of a mental thing, I think. But we got to get that fixed. I mean, it's not cool to win a game and you look up and the team has 300 passing every week. You know, and it'd be different if we didn't have no guys that could play. I haven't once heard anybody say we don't have the guys, we don't have the players, we don't have the skill. We're not doing it in practice. It's clear that it's something from when we do that last preparation to the game, what is happening in that span, and we got to figure it out. So that's it's pretty simple.
So him and Darius Washington both say, hey, man, we got to get this pass defense right. In the post-game speech with John Harbaugh in the locker room and everyone, they make it clear, like, we're not satisfied with this performance. We got to get this pass defense right.
We gonna get this pass defense right? I ain't really got too much, like Marlo said, bro. We're gonna get the pass defense right. You know that.
Now, number three, before we talk about Lamar Jackson and this offense and some of the key takeaways from this game, let's talk about what the pass defense did well. I think the pass rush really dialed up against the Bengals. You know, we had so much speculation and talk about the Ravens don't have a pass rush. The Ravens don't, and there was, chatter in the media, a lot of frustration among the fan base, and I think they went out and said, hey, they're doubting us. Let's go show them against a really good offensive line with our guy Nnamdi Madubuike with 3 sacks. We talked about in our preview video that Nnamdi Madubuike was signed to a massive contract, and we hadn't seen, the consistent pressures and or sacks from him this season. And man, did he put that to rest. 3 sacks. He finished with 7 pressures. That was according to Next Gen Stats. PFF charts him with having 10 pressures, a career high 3 high sacks on 48 pass rushes. You guys can see the clips here of Nnamdi Madubuike absolutely dominating, consistently getting in Joe Burrow's face. Even if he wasn't getting the sack, he was forcing him off his spot. That was very encouraging because he wasn't the only guy to get pass rush. Joe Burrow was actually pressured on 48.3% of his dropbacks. That's a season high for the Baltimore Ravens. They really stepped it up. According to PFF on this game, the Ravens finished with 40 pressures on 56 passes. Nnamdi Madubuike with 10, Van Noy with 9, Owe with 7, Trenton Simpson with 5 as a blitzer there, and then 3 other players had 3 and 3 other players had 1. So Van Noy, Madubuike, Owe lead the charge with rushing the passer and getting pressure on Joe Burrow in this game. At number 4, I want to talk about this offense, right? Because this was such a slow start. 7 points and a half is the lowest we've scored all season. They came out, they had a ton of penalties. In so many situations, we were, forced into obvious passing situations where the play action wasn't as effective. And, Derrick Henry wasn't getting going like we would like to see. We had penalties. We looked flat. It was a short week. And 7 points in the first half, just not good football for the Ravens. It just felt like we were in 1st and 20 or 2nd and 15 on several situations where it just was not putting us in a good spot. However, Lamar Jackson was able to overcome that in the second half. He was a perfect 7 for 7 on 3rd down in the second half with an absolute absurd numbers here. On 3rd down in the second half against the Bengals, he was 7 for 7, 133 passing yards, 19.0 pass yards per attempt, 3 passing touchdowns, and a perfect 158.3 passer rating. Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense on 3rd down has been absolutely incredible this season. And he's absolutely put all these can't come from behind stuff to rest. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens, first of all, when Lamar Jackson is trailing in games this season, He's got a 78.3 adjusted completion percentage, 1,038 passing yards, 273 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns to 0 interceptions according to PFF here. That's just absolutely unheard of. So check this out, man. We were down 21-7, and before you know it, we rattle off, 4 touchdowns, and it's 35-8 with 1:49 left. Check this out, 21-7. We're down 21-7 in the second half and are able to score that quickly. There's not many teams that can put up 7 in the first half and still walk away with 35 points. So in the third quarter, Marlon Humphrey forces that fumble on Chase Brown. We have a 30-yard drive. Derrick Henry gets a touchdown run. And then the next drive, Tylan Wallace, of all people, man, takes an 84-yard touchdown to the house, breaks 2 tackles. Mark Andrews, the next drive, has a touchdown. Beautiful play by him and Lamar improvising. And then Rashad Bateman on third down has a touchdown where Lamar Jackson floated it, and Rashad Bateman got some serious separation. And then Lamar Jackson rushes for the 2-point conversion. So we rip off 4 scoring drives, and we were getting stops in between. And the Ravens defense, as many problems as they have, and the long touchdowns to Jamar Chase and all that stuff, they got several stops today. Especially, I think it was 2 stops on fourth down where they got off of the field, and then the big fumble. Marlon Humphrey has now forced back-to-back turnovers against the Bengals. In the first matchup in Week 5, the Bengals probably would have won if Marlon Humphrey doesn't pick that pass off intended for Jamar Chase. The next game, he forces a fumble on Chase Brown. So 2 games back-to-back where Marlon Humphrey shows up big time. So the takeaway here is how explosive the offense is, being down 21-7, and then you look up, the score is 35-28 in favor of the Ravens with 1:49 left to go. Lamar Jackson also breaking NFL history records right now. Check this out right here. The highest passer rating in a single season through the first 10 games belongs to Lamar Jackson. The other guys were Aaron Rodgers in 2011, who won an MVP, Aaron Rodgers in 2020, won the MVP, and Peyton Manning in 2004 won the MVP. And I've seen several analysts now. There was one that came out this morning. I think it was Bart Scott, said that Lamar Jackson is this generation's, Peyton Manning. People keep saying that, Patrick Mahomes is Tom Brady and Lamar Jackson is Peyton Manning. Really, these two players are just a whole different beast of their own. The amount of talent at the quarterback position in the NFL right now is just crazy. It's higher than it's ever been in the NFL. That one run, the scramble that Lamar Jackson had where he backed up to the 30-yard line, you guys can see the screenshot here of him literally with 3 defenders chasing him down towards the sideline, and he winds up at the 1-yard line where Derrick Henry was able to punch it in for the touchdown. Our rushing stats on the day were not that impressive. Derrick Henry only goes 68 yards, but a healthy 4.3 a pop and a touchdown. Only a long of 11. So the Bengals did a great job of bottling up Derrick Henry, but the Ravens still walk away with 35 points. Lamar Jackson finishes the day with 280 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and an incredible passer rating. On the receiving side of things here, Tylan Wallace, 3 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown. So it wasn't just the long ball that he caught breaking the tackles. There was another beautiful out route that he caught to move the sticks, later in the game. And then Mark Andrews, that connection remains strong with Lamar Jackson, especially on the improv touchdown, 6 catches, 68 yards, and a tutty. And then Bateman deserves a lot of credit. He finishes the day 6 catches on 54 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, the touchdown was huge, but there were several plays on that drive and on other drives where it's 3rd down, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, and Rashad Bateman is the guy that Lamar's looking at and uncovers and is able to move the sticks. And then Zay Flowers kept pretty quiet today, 3 catches for 34 yards. So just the fact that so many different guys can hurt you, and Isaiah Likely wasn't even in this game either. You just don't know who to target in on. Obviously, the Bengals wanted to take away Zay Flowers, and then you have a guy like Tylan Wallace going for 115, Mark and Bateman all going over 50 yards and a touchdown as well. It is a true pick your poison offense, as Lamar Jackson says. A couple of other, key plays that I want to talk about in this game was Darius Washington. I thought he had a nice game. He had a really big pass breakup on Gesicki earlier in the game, and then he had another, on the 2-point conversion, the stop on Tanner Hudson. A lot of talk about the penalties there, that there should have been a face mask and there should have been a holding. I agree with the face mask. I don't agree with the holding. It was right there on the line of scrimmage. I like when refs allow DBs to play physical, and Mike Gesicki totally flopped. You could see him throw up his arm and flail. And if you look, it's very clear that on that same play, Kyle Van Noy is being held by the right tackle, Marius Mims. He had him hooked around his neck and helmet and was holding him as he was trying to rush the quarterback. And if you look on the day, the Ravens were heavily penalized, more than the Bengals. But Darius Washington with 2 big plays, I think he's playing some good football. He did have one slip. I think he went to go tackle Jamar Chase whenever he had a big yak play for the touchdown, and he slipped. And I think that's obviously wasn't a good look, but Darius Washington thought he had a good game. On the 6th offensive drive, we had a Falele holding call that put us in 1st and 20 when we really needed points. And then on 2nd and 20, Deontay Johnson, he falls he's wide open on a scramble drill with Lamar Jackson. And it just felt like up to that point, there was so much self-destruction between penalties. We had a missed field goal by Tucker, Deontay Johnson, and Darius Washington both falling down. Later in the game, Marcus Williams had a really bad coverage bust on Jamar Chase where, he bites on the tight end, and then Jamar Chase runs right past him for the big touchdown. So definitely a lot of self-destruction, but the Ravens were able to overcome it. They made the plays when it mattered the most late in the game and was able to come away with a win. This Ravens team is definitely capable of winning a championship. Their defense has got to get better, and I do think they played better than they did the first time they played the Bengals. The pass rush especially. However, there was just the 2 big plays that really ruined the Ravens' defensive day was the long touchdown to Jamar Chase towards the end of the game, and then the yak play to Jamar Chase, and allowing him to go, 260 yards or whatever it was. It's just unacceptable. And obviously Kyle Hamilton going out in the second half and not playing the rest of the game, that was a big factor. Kyle Hamilton being in there he's our best defensive player in my opinion. But the report is that Kyle Hamilton does not have a serious injury, just an ankle sprain. So that's good news, because when I first saw it, man, I was like, no, this looks like a non-contact season ender, ACL, MCL type thing, but obviously he was able to walk off, and it was reported that it was just an ankle sprain. All right, guys, so let me know in the comment section below your top takeaways from the game. We were pretty close on the score prediction. We actually went Ravens 35 to Bengals 31. The Ravens did finish with 35, but the Bengals made it a little bit closer with 34 points. But nonetheless, man, the Baltimore Ravens are in a great position right now at 7-3. Are they going to be able to win the AFC and get the number 1 seed like they did last year? That's going to be tough because Kansas City Chiefs are 8-0 right now, but they can definitely win the division and are in a prime position to. They have 10 days to get ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that game is going to be absolutely huge for who ends up walking away with the division win. The Steelers also have a pretty tough schedule going down the stretch. They have to play Baltimore twice. They got to play the Bengals twice. They got to play the Chiefs. They got some other tough matchups in there as well. So I do like the Ravens' odds to win this division. All right, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.